What would you do if your boss told you that you had to change your hairstyle in order to work with clients? Well, I'll tell you what today's guest did. She decided to launch her own business. It's our startup story today on Expert Connections. Our expert today wears two hats on the show, sharing both her startup story and then her expertise. Welcome to Expert Connections. I'm Julie Holton Smith. Our Startup Connections expert today is Melissa Terry, owner and founder of Lotus Beauty Lounge. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Hello, Julie. Thanks for having me on Expert Connections today. I'm very excited to share my journey with you guys.
I am excited to share your journey because one of the things that really stands out to me is that when you first started down this path of entrepreneurship, you didn't know you were on the path to entrepreneurship. So let's start there. Tell us, what is your startup story?
Just growing up as a child, I always had dolls and I loved to do their hair and I loved to put clothes on them and make them look beautiful. And I would just show them to my family members, to get praise from them. So I always knew that I did want to be in the beauty industry. But as I became a teenager, I really started loving fashion. And by the time I finished high school, I ended up going to the Fashion Institute of Technology for pre-college in New York. And I loved what I was doing and I loved the school there. But living in Manhattan and the New York experience was a lot for the teenage version of me.
It
So I
wasn't like Sex in the City. It wasn't just.
know maybe if I would have watched Sex in the City, I probably would have been like hip to what was going on. But I think it's just coming from Michigan and being in a town where you can kind of get where you want to go in 20 minutes, from left to right, north, south. Just living in New York, it's a very big and beautiful city. And there's many different experiences to be had with the different people there. So I decided, to finish pre-college and then come back to Michigan. And while I was back home, I was like, I really need to probably think of a plan B if I'm not going back to New York. So I decided to enroll in trade school and I started the cosmetology program. And I love doing hair. I love making people feel good. That moment when they get out of the chair and they're smiling and you just kind of see a weight lifted off of them and them leaving with confidence just gave me so much passion for what I was doing. Um, During my cosmetology training, I did have an experience of my own where I was transitioning from having to natural hair, which I was wearing my hair more curly. I was putting less heat on it. I just really wanted my hair to be like the healthiest version of myself. And learning how to do that, I had to learn about myself also. Um, because when you grow up with textured hair, you are really taught a certain way how to tame it from the world's perspective, how the world kind of wants you to look. So I was like, I'm giving myself a fresh start. I'm cutting all the damaged parts of my hair off, and I'm just gonna wear an afro, and this is me. And I love this for me. But one day when I went to school, I was told, hey, you have clients waiting. We want you to take them, but we can't let you take your clients until you straighten your hair. And I was like, oh, my hair is natural right now. That's exactly the opposite of what I want to do to it. So I had to make a decision. Was I going to take my clients, get my hours, and finish the program? Or, just wear my afro and walk out. So I did end up taking
Wow.
my
So
clients that day.
I mean, talk about a huge moment in your life
Yeah,
to, really you're at this crossroads you didn't even know you were going to be coming to.
yeah.
Topic for us to have as well, a conversation on the Think Tank of Three podcast, my other show,
Mhm.
because I mean, what a moment to choose between being true to yourself and
Yeah,
being true to the
yeah.
aesthetic, the vibe, whatever it was that
Mhm.
this business was going for. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what were your thoughts in that moment? That couldn't have been really,
Um,
was it an
it
easy decision?
definitely, I was definitely taken back by the approach, but I had to give myself hindsight. And I know that no matter what my hair looks like, I'm always going to be who I am and do what I love. So, like I said, I did decide to take my clients that day. Going forward, I did transfer my hours to Paul Mitchell School, and I loved it there because I could be true to myself, wear my hair how I wanted. And the only thing that mattered was the skill and talent I had for what I was doing. So I'm literally so honored to be able to graduate from a Paul Mitchell school and have that experience where what you do is the most important thing, not how you look or how, a company or brand wants you to look. Um, and there's different ways to be professional and to be yourself. So
Absolutely. It's,
yeah,
it's not lost on me. You mentioned earlier confidence that you love when you are, early in those early days, the feeling that you would get when you saw your clients, turn around, see themselves in the mirror with the confidence and the relief and all of those positive qualities that
yeah,
you were instilling in them through your work,
yeah,
that now you had to turn around and say, okay, how am I going to give this to myself through my work and honor who I am and be genuine? I think a lot of people watching, especially those who might be working a 9 to 5, but maybe it's not the right place for them. Or, so maybe they're considering, is this something I want to take and do and make a change and take that leap into entrepreneurship? And for you, that meant continuing your schooling elsewhere
yeah.
before becoming an entrepreneur. So, what was it that then, as you finished up school with Paul Mitchell, what was that turning point for you? What led you to say, I want to become a business owner?
So after finishing school, I gained a lot of clientele there, and I found myself traveling a lot for wedding clients. And after traveling so much, I'm like, I kind of have a full book. I think that I'm ready to have my own location. So now all of my clients can come to me. So, upon looking for what I thought would be just a small location just for myself, a little suite, something humble, I ended up having the opportunity to get a location at the Meridian Mall, and there opened the door to entrepreneurship. And I definitely didn't envision um, when signing the papers what I would end up with, but what I've been able to create, the jobs I've been able to give people in my community, and being able to do what I love and make people feel wonderful has been like so rewarding. And I never would have known in New York that whatever experience that I may have been having would have be taking me here today.
What a story. And I love that. Similarly, when I first launched, I did not know I was going to become an entrepreneur. It was not a lifelong dream. Some entrepreneurs just it's in their blood. They know it's what they want. Others like you and I end up there and then are really grateful for that part of the journey. So what was it when you had that opportunity? Location opens up, Meridian Mall. What was it that inspired you to take the leap to say, I'm not just going to open a place for myself. I'm going to build something with scalable growth opportunities.
I knew that I wanted to have an all-inclusive environment for all ages and people with all hair textures. And I knew that I wanted to do more than hair because I also love aesthetics and skin and nails. So I created a service list. And I was like, you know what? Of course, yeah, I can do all of these things, but through my journey of cosmetology school, I've met so many amazing people that are great at what they're doing. I would love to bring some of them on and see if they want to be a part of my team. So upon reaching out to different people, I was able to gather what had been my first group of employees at Lotus Beauty Lounge and establishing my business in 2018. And just finding ways to separate my business from other salon and spas, from, our representation of when you walk into the salon, 100% it's something that you haven't ever seen before. It's very unique within itself. And then also the services that we offer, you can literally come to the Lotus Beauty Lounge and get, permanent makeup. You can get manicure, pedicure. You can get a keratin treatment, balayage, and a full body wax. Like it's your world. You can definitely step in one person and come out a whole nother person. So that's kind of how I kind of leaned into it all.
Okay, so what I hear you describing is something that business owners across all industries face, which is how do we separate ourselves from the competition? And how do we create an environment where our team really wants to come and work for us because we are different? Can you
Mhm.
talk about that a little bit? I know right now you are hiring, you are scaling, you are growing, and you are working to keep up with the hiring. So what is
Yeah.
it? Give us your 30-second elevator pitch. What is it that really makes you different for your team?
Well, I'm really big on sharing a space and having good vibes with one another. When you're in a workplace, that is your second home. It's definitely a place where you should feel safe, comfortable, and be able to do what you love while creating income for yourself and your family. So, that's very important. That's the headliner right there. I always try to give incentives to my employees. Being in the hair industry, a lot of people don't have 401ks or insurance to cover them while they're working as barbers or stylists. So I always try to make sure that I offer like Aflac emergency insurance to my employees. And I also try to make sure that we always have like time for group meetings and even one-on-ones and just having transparent conversations, regardless of if I am the employer and you are the employee. I'm still a growing and learning person also. So I like there to be, a safe place where we can communicate on what everyone can do better. I also, make sure that there's room for growth. So if people want training while they're here, any services that we offer, I offer my employees free training because I want them to be able to take every client that walks through the door.
I love this. So, as I'm taking my own notes here on your startup story, if I were to sum it up in three headlines, it would be you launched because you needed to stay true to yourself. And I think when a business is founded in that authenticity to what the business owner needs and wants to create, that is key. The second headline here would be the focus on your team, the growth opportunities, the training. And then third, of course, the attention to your clients. So let's turn now to your clients because our audience, I am sure, is listening to this, resonating with your startup story, and also we could use a few beauty tips of our own. Let's dig into that expertise from you because we talk a lot on the show about, for instance, preparing for pitch presentations, about presenting ourselves for the media, and presenting ourselves, putting our best foot forward with our clients, with investors. So let's talk about, from your perspective, your expertise, putting on that hat now. Let's
Mhm.
talk about the importance of self-care and our presentation style when it comes to those things. So, how do some of these current trends that you're seeing really help business professionals to make a strong impression?
What comes to mind when I think about first impressions is confidence. And when I think about the things that give me confidence are, when I decide, what am I wearing today? How does this make me feel when I put this on? When I'm doing my hair, sometimes we have good hair days, sometimes we have bad hair days. But I think finding a hairstyle that you feel is always, a good representation of you and something that you can do in a timely fashion that still looks great gives you confidence. Having like a makeup routine that is like minimal for women or whoever wants to wear makeup, that you can do really fast. Nobody
And
wants to
frankly, everyone on Zoom, men,
everyone wants to
everyone, whether you
spend.
wear makeup in your everyday or not, if you're on a Zoom interview and it's an important pitch or presentation,
Yeah.
borrow some of your wife's concealer if you've got a big zit, which often happens when we're stressed, right? So
Yes. So
absolutely.
just having like really quick go-tos that, enhances your beauty without overdoing it. So that's not overbearing. You still look like yourself, the more beautiful version of yourself. And I like to call myself a beauty enhancement specialist sometimes because like that's just my niche. I love making people feel great and helping them find ways where they can incorporate beauty in their everyday routine.
And I love how you started that again with that keyword of confidence, really bringing out that inner confidence in
Yeah.
our external look. So, okay, let's talk about skincare,
Mhm.
healthy, natural skincare, men and women. No matter what gender you identify as, skincare is very important. What are some of the latest skincare treatments that maybe some of us who aren't paying attention should know about?
I can really only speak from personal experience because I feel like skincare, it's not a one for all thing. Everyone's skin is different. You have to figure out what your target areas are, what type of skin combinations you may have. And then once you figure out what your issue is, then you can start finding products that work good for you. For me, I love to find like vegan based products. I like to find products that are not acne prone. Right now, I feel with like a trendy skincare is like the tonics and serums, like Ordinary, just getting your straight up vitamin C and just lathering it on without having like three products that are vitamin C based. You just have your serum and you apply it. Another thing that's important is obviously like moisturizing. Even if you do have oily skin, having a moisturizer that's not like oil based, so you can still have a protection and barrier from like outside pollutants and things like that. Um, One thing that I also like to do is use eye gel masks because I can just throw them on for 15 minutes if I'm in the car or if I'm cleaning at home or wherever I'm at. I can always do that for like a pick me up. And it just makes me feel great afterwards. And I think that it works. So that's kind of all that matters.
All right, audience, we are getting into the weeds here because I know that that on a regular basis, audience, you are not getting into the weeds on this because busy entrepreneurs, business leaders, we're all busy. Unless
Yeah.
you're in the industry, like our expert Melissa, you are not paying attention to this. I want to talk too about stress relief and confidence boosting. You keep mentioning confidence. So, as part of our self-care routine, how can some of these wellness treatments benefit us?
I think it's part of work-life balance.
Is
Just
that
like,
a thing? Does that exist?
you have that's the key. You have to make it exist. And I'm a mother of five. So there may be moments where I might be feeling like a little selfish because mommy's taking 10 minutes to herself. But those moments are, important for us because we can only give as much as we have. And if we're not giving anything to ourselves and taking that time for ourselves to just have relaxation, to have solitude, to have a moment of just self care, whether you're just like getting a pedicure or even something I like to do is just literally just sit in the sun, like just go on
Mm.
the back deck and just lay out in the sun and just be at peace. There are so many different ways to practice self care and relaxation. You just have to find which one you can incorporate realistically into your life.
Well, I think the only reason why I get my hair done regularly is for the scalp massage. There is nothing
It's
like a good
therapeutic.
tension release in your
Yeah,
scalp. If you have never had a scalp massage, even, go check
it
out
feels
Melissa
good.
because it really does. There's something or aromatherapy to,
Mhm.
to calm your nerves through your
Yeah.
senses.
And a really good one, just for a mood booster, one that I like to use is just mandarin essential oil.
Mm.
It just smells so good. And it really just makes you feel better. For me, it makes me feel better. So if you
Yes.
haven't tried mandarin essential oils, if you put a little on yourself or if you have something you can put inside of at home, it is a really great mood booster. I love it. But those are little things that you can do that can just give your whole day just like a better perspective, a more feel good type of vibe.
All right, Melissa, last question that I have for you is about haircuts and styling for trends.
Mhm.
So, especially for the busy entrepreneur, the busy business leader, what are some tips for a polished look that is maybe low maintenance, but really going to maybe help boost your confidence when you're in the boardroom giving that presentation?
first thing first, having healthy hair, making sure that you're getting like your trims regularly. Uh, I feel like when people get their hair cut, even if it's like an inch, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. So, getting that dead hair off really just can make you feel really good about yourself. So just giving yourself a small touch up like that. And if we're talking about, like trends, like, unfortunately, summer's almost over, but lovely fall is around the corner. So just going back to your browns, your burgundies, your reds, your caramel colors, and like I lightened my hair this summer, but my hair is like, girl, deposit some color on me right now. Like, so just doing things like that to kind of make your hair just feel and look a little bit healthier. Those are great options.
Melissa Terry, owner and founder of Lotus Beauty Lounge, thank you so much for sharing your expertise today, as well as your startup story. If you tuned in at the end of this interview, make sure and jump back to the beginning to hear how Melissa got her start. Thanks again for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's all for this episode of Expert Connections. I'm Julie Holton Smith. Stay tuned. Our next video is right up. I bet most of us have stood in front of a closet full of clothing and yet felt the frustration of having nothing to wear. Today's founder says she has a fix. We'll hear her story to bootstrap along with support from the Lansing Regional Smart Zone. Expert Connections starts now. Welcome to Expert Connections, where we connect you to experts in their fields, from legal and financial to AI and IT, startup stories, and so much more. I'm Julie Holton. Thanks for joining us. As we continue this series of startup stories, be sure to check out and subscribe to see the full Startup Connections playlist sponsored by the Lansing Regional Smart Zone. Today's startup story focuses on founder of Attire, Kaylin Goddard. Kaylin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you, and I'm excited to dive into not only the technical side of your app and what you're building, but a lot of your story as a young female founder and how you are navigating your way through the startup world. So first of all, as we dive in here, let's start with the critical question: what is Attire?
Yeah, imagine waking up and not having to think about what you're going to wear. Attire is a fashion app that truly transforms the way you get dressed every single day. And we do that by providing curated outfits using clothes that you own for any occasion and any style. And so our mission is really to help people look good so that way they can feel good and do good every single day.
I love that. I told you before we started recording that I really love the focus, the mission, the inspiration behind your startup, because when I'm working with whether it's with founders or others and their media training, when I'm talking with them about their personal brand, their marketing, in order to look your best and sound your best, to present your best self, you have to feel good. And that starts with, believe it or not, with our clothing and what we're wearing and how we look. It really influences how we feel and then how we actually are able to perform our jobs. So tell us more. What was the inspiration behind Attire?
Yeah, that's exactly what actually led me to build Attire. So I really noticed how much of an impact that what I wore had on me. So on both sides of the spectrum. So when I wore something that I thought I looked good in, I had confidence, I had a great day. But when I wore something that I didn't necessarily like or I didn't look good in, I wouldn't feel confident. And so I would think about it the rest of the day. And so what I realized is that the outfit that you wear really impacts you. And I actually realized that so many other people feel the same way. So going through that, all that to say, the process of getting dressed just really sucks. We wake up in the morning, we look at our closet that's full of clothes, and we still feel like we have nothing to wear. So we're ripping all of our clothes out of our closet, trying to find something. We end up with clothes all over the floor. We waste so much time, and we leave the house feeling so frustrated and in something that we don't even like. And so I thought there had to be a better way, and that's what led me to create Attire.
Kaylin, why is it that we have closets full of clothes and we try on 20 different things? None of them look right. It doesn't matter how many clothes you have in your closet. You can never seem to find an outfit. And
Yeah.
then enter your app. So like, why does that happen? Why do we not know what to wear? Why can we not pick out an outfit?
Yeah, part of the reason is the lack of visibility. So when you think about your closet, you have clothes that are stuffed in drawers that are just not visible for you. And so what we do is like we think in our head and we have all of these pieces going around in our head, thinking what matches what. And it's just super hard to mentally think of that and really envision an outfit. And so the first problem is visibility. The second is time. So when we wake up in the morning, we normally resort to the same outfits that we wear every single day. And so 80% of people only wear 20% of the clothes that they own. And that's why. It's because we just resort to the same outfits because we don't have time. And so it's easy just to wear the same things over and over again. So yeah.
You mentioned that, like the images in our minds, and I immediately go back. This is, my generation, but I immediately go back to the movie Clueless and that, that amazing closet that we all wanted as young girls. Tell us about your app and the focus of how it's going to make things more visible and help with time.
Yeah, the Clueless is real now. So that's exciting. So essentially we digitally create outfits for you using clothes that you own. So you upload photos of your clothing items and we will digitally remove the background, fill out all the information of that item for you. And from there, create outfits for you based on where you're located. So we know that you're in, for say, Detroit, Michigan. We know the weather at that time that you're dressing for in Detroit. And so we can create an outfit for you based on, let's say you want to dress for work. So we create a work outfit for you.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to come back to the technical side of building the app in just a moment. But first, let's talk about just your story a little bit here, because I know some of the details of your story, and I know that it's something that a lot of founders, especially young founders, will relate to. So tell us about your journey. Right now, you are working on Attire full time. How did you make that decision? What inspired you to take this on full time?
Yeah, so it all really started when I started feeling this frustration of my wardrobe. It was an idea for a little while, but every single day I'd wake up and get dressed and I would think about like how much I needed it. So I asked around to my friends, to people I knew, like, is this something you would use? Do you also face the same issue? And I realized quickly that so many other people were feeling the same exact way. So after graduating from Michigan State, I decided to take the full plunge and just go straight for it. And I'm so glad I did. Right after graduating, we filed as an LLC, already created the prototype and tested it and brought it to a group of developers at Michigan State who helped us in creating our MVP.
Amazing. Okay, so challenges. Let's talk challenges. Most founders, I would dare to say all founders, face some challenges in the initial journey. What has been one of the biggest challenges that you've faced so far?
Yeah, I would say a super common challenge that a lot of founders face is the feeling of doubt, like whether this will work out, what if I'm wasting my time? And at the end of the day, I feel like you really have to go back to the reason why you're doing it. And so this is something that I really struggled with and that I eventually learned to work through. And so at the end of the day, I went back to why we're doing it and who we're doing it for, which is to help people feel confident every single day, to make mornings less stressful, and to encourage people to create instead of consume in the fashion space, which is huge. And so that's what really fuels me and has pretty much completely gotten rid of the doubts that enter my head and has been one of the biggest challenges for me.
Yeah, that confidence builder, the imposter syndrome, talk to
Yeah.
a lot of founders who go through that. Even experienced founders later in the journey will often encounter new things that cause this confidence issue to come back into play. So, not surprised at all to hear that. Love your advice on that. I'm curious too. So, you're in the process. You have your MVP. You're building out the app now. I believe you're not a developer. You're not a coder. So founders like you who want to build a piece of technology to realize their vision, how have you gone about finding developers, working with that tech side of things? Has that been a challenge?
Yeah, that is also one of the biggest challenges I faced. I had to be very scrappy since I had to create my MVP as a non-technical founder. So just creating makeshift solutions at first to prove that this is something people need. So showing people how they can manage their wardrobe, but without building out the tech for it first. So I had to be scrappy in that way. And then also just like using my resources. So Michigan State has this awesome club, which is called Imagine Software. And essentially it's a club of student coders. And so I pitched to them the idea, and I won their pitch competition. So we won development for a couple of months to finish our MVP, which has been awesome and super helpful.
Funding is a question that a lot of founders, every founder faces. So whether it's bootstrapping, seeking out funding, what has been your approach to finding the money in order to build the app?
Yeah. So we really bootstrapped at first, just the general things that you have to spend money on when creating a startup like LLC, all that good stuff. So we bootstrapped at first, and then we're really thankful to be supported by the Lansing community, where we're able to raise some funds in order to finish out our MVP and our first version of the app.
Yeah, I love that. I think oftentimes in the startup world, we talk a lot about VC, we talk a lot about angel investors and a lot about bootstrapping. And what I really love for those that are focused on bootstrapping is the amount of grant funding, the amount of resources that are available in communities like Lansing, working with the Lansing Regional Smart Zone. Grand Rapids has Smart Zone, and just being able to connect with the economic development, the drivers that are really working within the ecosystem to help those that are seeking funding. I feel like anywhere you go, there is funding available. There may be different guidelines you have to follow and parameters, of course, but just seeking out some of those ESOs, those entrepreneurial support organizations who help founders like you is a great way to shape your journey. So, okay, so want to come back to this idea of normally we shy away from talking about things like gender and age and the impact on startups, but this is a conversation, Kaylin, that you and I have talked about. I have another podcast, Think of Three, where we focus on the female journey and the impact on women. So let's just talk about this. What has it been like for you as, you mentioned you just graduated from Michigan State, as a younger female founder. Have you felt that this has impacted your journey in any way?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'd say it's been super fun. Like, that's the first thing. I've learned a lot, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this process and journey. As a female founder, I would say the biggest challenge that I faced is being taken seriously, but this is mostly from older generations who may not align with what Attire is offering. So, which is totally completely fine. Just something that really surprised me.
I was given advice once. I hold a lot of masterminds, and in the course of launching these masterminds, I was given the advice of making sure that every generation is represented. And I remember when I was given that advice years ago, this is probably 7 years ago, I thought, ooh, I don't know, do I really need people that are of every generation, or I was thinking oh, I think I just want people that are like me, people that understand my journey and they understand where I am in life. And I took the advice anyway and had at least one person kind of representative of each generation. And I'm telling you, by the end of this mastermind, the older generation was saying how much they learned from the younger and vice versa. And it was just really interesting to have that variety of perspective. So, flipping all of this around, how has your perspective helped to influence others in this space? Do you feel like you're able to show up with fresh ideas and energy and find creative ways to be taken seriously? How are you influencing the space that you're in?
Yeah, great question. I would say I've also gotten a lot of great advice from the older generation too, just since their experience, especially with founders, has been super impactful. In regards to kind of my similar age group, I've also working with them and working alongside of software developers, they have given me a fresh new perspective on what's possible, and things that I couldn't have even thought of, has been super great. And also just working with them too, I'm sure I've shared a lot of fashion ideas with them too that has been useful. So yeah.
Okay, so from the idea stage now with the MVP, working on development towards building out your app, talk through the business model and what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, so we're starting with our core product, which is wardrobe management and creation. And so essentially creating outfits for you, saving them. So in the morning you wake up, you go to the app and have an outfit idea for you, or a list of outfits that you've already worn and that you love and that you can just choose from. And so we're starting with that as our core product. We'll then launch our marketplace a little later on, where our users can buy and sell from each other's wardrobes. Really, our goal with this is to contribute to a more sustainable fashion industry by encouraging secondhand. And then lastly, is we are offering a social media platform. And so we are kind of filling the gap between every single step in the process of personal fashion, starting from inspiration. So seeing people's outfits to creation. So building outfits from that inspiration, and then to selling and buying.
Interesting. So taking that marketing aspect and building it right into the app. That's very creative. Would love to hear more and see more about that as you get to that phase on our marketing connection segment. Kaylin, you mentioned sustainability. Tell us more about this. I think this is really going to pique a lot of attention.
Yeah, the fashion industry is, I think, now the third largest polluting industry in the world behind oil and gas. And there's this crazy statistic that's showing how in the fashion industry, buying of clothes is skyrocketing, but the utilization of clothing is plummeting. So what that means is that people are buying more and more pieces, but they're using their pieces less and less. And what this is actually fueled by is a circular process that a lot of us go through with our personal fashion journey. And so it starts with waking up, getting dressed, and feeling frustrated that we have nothing to wear. And so we just buy new pieces thinking that's the problem. But the root issue, like I said, is that we just don't know how to utilize them, or we don't have the time to utilize all of our pieces. And so that's really why we're creating Attire, is to, instead of promote overconsumption, promote the creation of pieces that you already own. And then lastly, with our marketplace, in regards to sustainability, while you're shopping and you click on an item, we actually provide curated outfits for how that piece could look like with clothes that you currently own. And so with this, we're really promoting informed purchasing decisions. So our shoppers are able to be more confident in the pieces that they buy, knowing that it matches something that they already own. This decreases returns, and it just makes people more confident in what they're buying, spending less time and money on wasted purchases. So we're really excited to be making a real impact in regards to sustainability within such a polluting industry.
That pollution problem is huge. I remember reading during COVID about all of the returns, all of the people doing that COVID shopping, the late night shopping on Amazon, of course, and numbers were skyrocketing, even on things like clothing. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know where people were going in that clothing, because we were at the time, we were all working from home,
Right.
quarantined, no place to go. But the part of that problem I read was on the returns. And the returns just get wasted. But I had no idea until you just shared the stats that a lot of the waste is happening in our own closet. Great time to point out another interview with a stylist, a color stylist, that will also help you figure out how to not buy the colors that aren't going to actually look good on you. A great compliment to the app that you're building, Kaylin. Kaylin, June is Startup Grind's Female Founders Month, where we celebrate women founders, women in startups. What advice do you have for other startup founders who are maybe looking at navigating a similar journey?
Yeah, I would say first is create a network. There are so many other female founders out there, and get plugged into local communities. Like we were talking about, like your local regional smart zone. And there's so many founders that have gone through the same journey, experiencing the same pain points. And I've learned a lot from other female founders just by getting plugged in. And also take the leap. If you find a valid problem in a market and you know that the solution that you have is the right fix for it, just start creating and just start testing it. I would just say take the leap is the hardest part, but it's important.
And take the leap and check out our other startup stories in our Startup Connections segment. All right, Kaylin, aside from your incredible story as a startup founder, people are going to be interested in this app. Where can they go? What can they get right now?
Yeah, we're really excited to be launching this summer. And so make sure you follow us on Instagram at attireapp_. And then also join our waitlist at attireappco.com.
I will put all of those links in the show notes. Make sure to check out Attire. And Kaylin, thank you for being on the show. That is all the time we have for today. Be sure to subscribe to Expert Connections, and we'll see you next week with another new episode.